You're listening to an episode recorded during the time Innovation Fuel was part of University Canada West. We are proud and grateful for the work we've done together, and we want to thank the university for being in our podcast. We are now excited to continue the journey of Innovation Fuel into its next chapter. Thanks for listening. Welcome to another episode of Innovation Fuel. I am Dave Kiran.
And I am Gelare Farhadian. We are educators and your hosts.
Innovation Fuel is a weekly podcast that brings you ideas from businesses, both entrepreneurs and industry professionals. And we bring those ideas into the classroom so that students can engage and see if they can help solve some of these problems in and around BC.
We have explored diverse business models, leadership issues, and how entrepreneurs are innovating and adapting to our current environment.
If you want to learn more about what we talk about so far, check out our episodes at www.ucanwest.ca/innovationfuel. So, Galari, I'm very interested in the world of cybersecurity. This element is very exciting, and I think it's very relevant to a lot of people, and especially now with the COVID times, and we see a lot more people jumping online. I think that there's a lot of relevance here that we can learn from this world.
I mean, just name a business, a small business that they don't need cybersecurity. Just name one. It means you have to always protect your identity. You have to protect your records, financial records, for yourself and for customers. Just imagine if you cannot protect them, what will happen?
It is, yeah, but it's everybody's experiencing this. Like we see data breaches every day, and we're probably seeing challenges on the small and medium side of things, and also on the large side of things. But now, Galari, I think, and more relevant to what we're going to talk today with our guest is that not only are we talking about cybersecurity, but we're also talking about equality, because we're back to this conversation again.
Dave, when I was working in the computer science, I was a programmer, as you know, that for 7 years, as a woman in a technology, is not easy to prove your quality. You have to double efforts to show that, I have the same quality. Yes, please see me as well. I have the same quality. You have to prove. And so it's not, as a woman, as a colored woman, as you can see that I'm not white woman. So it's double effort for everyone, that you have to show that, yes, I have quality as well.
Okay, without further ado, let's ignite this episode today of Innovation Fuel.
Our guest is Muse Greenwood, and she is a social entrepreneur. She's a serial entrepreneur. She is the author of the Cyber Security Handbook. Interesting, right? And Sen, what is the Cyber Security Handbook? Welcome, Muse. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello. Oh, I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're so happy to have you, and we're so interested about a lot of things here we're going to cover today. But Muse, before we go down that journey, we need to understand a little bit more about you and your background. Can you tell us a little bit about you and your journey?
I tell you, let me first start. I have a 20-page notes here that I started for this conversation. People in technology aren't known for their short responses. But actually, all joking aside, absolutely I can. I was thinking about this question, like how to start, and also for your audience and your students, how to convey. And I thought, I knew at the age of 4, I wanted to get into business. I remember I was watching how business going into shops, and I thought, I know how I can make some money. I'll sell pretty pictures. Because it was the 60s, early 60s, and that was the days where just being cute, you got money. Like when you're a kid, people would say, "Oh, you're so cute. Here's a quarter." here's a, you on your really cute days, you might have got 50 cents, So it's going to lead into the cybersecurity, this conversation. But anyway, so I remember thinking, wait, if I can sell pretty pictures and I get a quarter. So I went through my mom's magazines and I cut out pretty pictures. I got dressed up. I'm sure I look haphazard. I got dressed up and I went out to the city's areas and I was like, pretty pictures for 10 cents. And I'm thinking, when I got back, I got in trouble because apparently this is my first time learning about return on investment. My mother's magazine cost more than the dollars and stuff I raised. I was excited because I sold out. My business was great, the first venture. Unfortunately, I didn't consider my investor was not participating willingly. So at the age of 4, I learned something about business that actually has lasted me to now. Because investors and business are so part, I got involved with business. And for your viewers, I didn't realize I would wind up in cybersecurity. I started out in the arts. I come from a long line of performers. I started out in the arts. I moved into advertising, sales, and media because if you're creative and you write content, sometimes you get into advertising. I started to get into business development, do business and business sales. I love business. I found out I had a acumen for networking with people, that I love seeing people succeed. So I didn't realize at the time that I was such a project manager as a design and organizational development. These weren't the languages I had. I had things like, I connect the dots. I love to make things happen. I love to be with people. I love to see success. I had these languages, but in reality, there's certifications for these things. By the way, for your students, once you really identify, get those certs soon as possible because they will serve you. And then I looked up, I became number 1 in my field. And what started to happen is I had all these interests and people kept asking me to do things. And I realized, I have such a network base. I have so many people asking me to connect them. I'm designing programs. I'm designing more and more product. And then someone said, you're like the ultimate consultant and trainer. So hence came a consulting training firm where I had access to 25 other professionals. I have a team of people. It just grew into that. In my journey, where I've come is not how I started, but every single thing, even from the age of 4, has proven to serve me in this moment and still continues to serve me. So the message to that was, where you start may not be where you end, but there's no part of that bricklaying of that road that will not serve you.
But again, and again, you think in that element, Muse, says that, and I'm sorry, just reflecting on what you said there, and that if you're on the right journey, the right things will start to show themselves on that journey. And so I'm sorry, I had to bring that up because I really like that piece.
Yes, on one of my sessions, just recently with some students, I drew a road on the whiteboard, and when we were pre-COVID, right? And I just little pictures of myself journeying, so they could see this journey, and it all does tie in. And you're absolutely right. It's, the other thing I found is when you're doing things well, people will search you out. They will find you. So how I got into cybersecurity, I'm going to go back to that, but how I got into human resources was because I was number 1 in my field of business development. I basically made people money. It's pure and simple, right? People were like, you're helping us. How do you get training? I can actually show how training can improve a business return on investment by a close. We did 10% and also increased the product by a good, I think it was it was quite a large amount. So I don't want to misquote myself on this, but we basically went from 167 for a digital product that then it went as far as 1,500, because the ideal of the product was you don't ask the customer what it's going to be. You ask the customer, what are you currently paying? And this is something I learned in advertising. What I may pay for something and what Brad Pitt may pay for it are two different things. Right? So you don't go to Brad Pitt and be like, hey, I can get you 2 for 1. He's going to like, I don't have time wasting. You're going to say that to me. I always look for a good deal. I'm a social entrepreneur after all, and I chose that, so I would definitely go for 2 for 1. And then I might even ask, by the way, can you throw in an extra so and so? But Brad Pitt will probably say, listen, I just want this, and I don't have time to negotiate. I just want to pay for it. Boom, he's done. So I learned in business that people will seek you out. So what happened is I realized I was doing training. I started to study the laws for my clients. The next thing I knew, I have a law degree, because I'm thinking to myself, if you're going to study this, you might as well make this official, because I couldn't design the programs they wanted without having the solid knowledge. So as long as you're willing, I found, to expand yourself and keep the best of you, then people will seek you out, because everyone's always looking for someone to help them achieve their goals and their visions and their mission. And if you're a person who, I like to say, if you can catch on fire with it, like get passionate about their missions and visions with them, then they will seek you out.
That is great. So how did you come with the cybersecurity?
Well, the thing is, that's really an interesting one, because I love technology as far as digital. I love coding. Because of developing product, I've always loved going to hackathons where I get to work with coders and just kind of create ideas. So my husband and we are business partners. He had an invitation through a friend of his to go to DC. And he's like, oh, and bring Muse along, and I was like, oh, that'll be fun. I thought this was going to be a social moment. Who knew this is going to be a game changer? So the Wall Street Journal was hosting a summit, and it was for SMEs. But they had a real high mark. I'm not really sure how we got on there, but I'm happy we did. But the average SME at that point was doing 5 million for them. So we were invited to this prestigious event that was being hosted by Barack Obama's administration and the Wall Street Journal in Washington, D.C. I'm sitting in this room with people I've seen their names, the Fortune 500. My team, the guy who asked, "Can you pass me the bread?" I was like the rolls and stuff. I was like, "Oh my gosh, are you?" This is fantastic. So I'm not going to name drop, but let's just say these people, some of them jetted to the meeting. Anyway, so I'm sitting. I'm sitting there going, "This is thank you. What a wonderful blessing," and they start talking about how by 2020, SMEs, the amount of percentages of businesses that will go under due to cyber threats, things like ransomware, who will become vulnerable because they're not prepared and because they're being driven to do everything online. But they are not given the information and the clear education on how to protect themselves and their employees and their clients and their customers. So there was these 3 days talking about vulnerability and exposure. And as I'm sitting there representing the other group under 5 million going, wait a minute, are you telling me that this is happening? And then they were throwing numbers out saying, 72% of all employees rely on small businesses, but X amount, 68% of these businesses within 6 months will be out of business. It doesn't take a lot to do the math. And all I kept thinking was, how is that going to affect our economy? How's that going to affect our livelihood? What is that going to do? Oh my goodness, that's a lot of people out of work. That's a lot of entrepreneurs out of business. It just kept, really resonated with me. And I found myself going, no one is doing the education part. And what do I do best? I take the complex and I bring it to the everyday person. That's what companies hire me to do. Take their policies and their laws, help us get our employees passionate about this. Can you show us a way to enjoy this so that it becomes weaved in a part of us? It becomes weaved into the fabric of our consciousness. And it's not considered some tech conversation, but it's a business conversation. I like to say cybersecurity is one of the strongest and best business tools that we have. So I left that with a commitment of, I can do this. And I felt like the calling. No angels or anything came down, but it's kind of
right place at the right time.
But the clouds did open. It might have been the weather, but the clouds did open, and I was feeling really like I can do this. And so, hence, Cybersecurity A to Z Guide began, and the research went deep. I put the team on it. And then I was reintroduced to something I had been able to reduce in my life, and that was systemic race concerns. And I was introduced to the fact that I'm a woman, which I always knew, but I was reintroduced. I was reintroduced to these limitations and these biases and these microaggressions that surround us in our day-to-day business, that we can actually we'll stop looking at them because it's hard to function if you're looking at them. So I was reintroduced because I stepped into a world that I had not known until that moment, which also explains why there's such vulnerability by marginalizing people and cutting out large populations and genders from being able to do the work. I was introduced to the fact that this was considered sacred ground to predominantly white male, right? With some Asian, but for the most part, it was considered sacred territory. And I had the audacity to step into sacred ground for people. So when I finished the book and started to drive it and promote it, I met with a lot of resistance, even though the stats and facts were true. Everyone 100% agreed I was on the right track.
So this is across the board technology. This is not just cybersecurity. This is everything on the technology piece.
This is, I guess if I understand what you're saying, Dave, on that, it's the layering of also, it's cyber security, and this is that language, right? We use cybersecurity, but originally it was called technology information. It was technology security.
Yeah.
It was information security. So cyber, I think, putting that word cyber on it, it was a way of making making society step away from it. It actually created a barrier of entry, because for the everyday person, when they hear the word cyber, and I know because I've worked with HR, and I'm like, let's do your cybersecurity trainings. And they're like, oh, our IT handles all cyber. I'm like, if you handle information, but who's actually handling the day-to-day information? Oh, well, we have this person handles that part of our information. And we have the sales team, we have the product team, we have the development team, we have the retention team, the customer care team. I said, all of those people are handling information. All of those people are dealing with cyber.
Yes, of course. I mean, just even us, just look at us, what we do when the first day we buy our laptop, what we do. I mean, what we do, we won't we buy antivirus.
Exactly.
The first day we do it and see that. Or for example, if you want to set up your iPhone or phone, what you do the face recognitions, finger recognitions to protect yourself. Everyone day-to-day life is that one. You put the password for everything.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And very few people read terms and conditions, right? So they load things on, but they don't really look at the opportunities and the possibilities of what privacy is going to be best for them. And there's no real sound bite. I'm going to use that phrase, right? We're all so busy. And that's going back to what you had asked on that. How did I get into that? I just really felt like everyone's so busy. I care enough about our society as a whole, our global consciousness, that I really wanted to create something that business owners, people who usually have invested their lives and their savings and who are really committed to their employees and customers, I wanted to create something that would help them succeed quickly, if you will, like resources they could read the A to Z guide, they could get a handle to get their head around it. I call it a dip in. It's a book you can read chapter 1 and look up things, and you don't have to commit every day for long periods of time. And we put funny and quirky things in there so people can laugh, because we want people to also have this relaxed feeling with cyber. We want their engagement to feel kind of natural and relaxing. So we created a book that's what I call a smooth read, not just an easy read, but it's smooth. It doesn't demand a lot, but it gives you all the solid information. Hence, we've won the awards for, been listed in the Forbes and Book Authority's top cybersecurity books, top 100 cybersecurity books for 3 years going. And we entered, I guess, at number 40, and I'm now at number 21. And it's because I believe that eventually what's happening is people are like, gosh, this is really helping me. And I don't have to, commit and break out all these notes and research. I don't have to, she's defining it for us that we can understand it and put it to action. And it's not instructions either. It's just pure fact, so people can understand what they're up against.
Yeah, great. So I'm sorry, I think that I caught you somewhere. You were talking about getting to this industry that's dominated with a white male, right? I'm sorry, I'm sorry. We're just keeping back to you.
Oh, no, I love it. I love it. I mean, it all intertwines, right? It's because that very passion is and when I use the words feminine and masculine, I'm not talking gender, okay? Because we all know we carry both. I think cybersecurity has that as well. There's a feminine and a masculine energy. And I believe I wanted to create a product that was of the feminine energy. It was the nurturing part when you're online. It's the business that cares for you. The masculine is the part that takes, buys, gets, collects, right? And that's the hunter-gatherer, which is right. There has to be that nurturing, if I put it that way. So that's how I approached it. Also, with like, oh, well, we need a balance. We need more of that feminine. And so, yeah, when I got into it, being a woman in business, it's not because I'm a woman in business. I think some men do a beautiful job of adding Gaia to their business. It just so happened I was tapping into the feminine of cyber. And going back a little bit to Dave, what you were saying, so it is information, it is technology, it is all things. If you're online, it is about really understanding how vulnerable and protecting yourselves, So as a woman and as an entrepreneur, I wanted to make sure that, these metaphors, it must be because it's early, I don't know, but I wanted to make sure everybody had their gloves and hat on. You know what I mean? Right before you leave outside and you're a kid, they're like, put your gloves on, put your hat on, put your scarf on. I felt like there was not enough conversation around that. Now, as an entrepreneur, I just go after business. I don't think gender, I don't think race or ethnicity or culture. I was on fire and excited about business. Like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. And the people, the networks and everything. And I did my due diligence. I got certifications and things that I felt were necessary to be able to deliver accurately. And then all of a sudden I was reminded, you are a woman in business. Why? Because some of the people I was sitting with and talking with in the denied investments, the project, I could not get anyone for close to 6 years. I could not get any support or leverage. We went to London, and it was so bizarre because there would be some people, supporters who would get behind, oh, they're going to love this. I'm going to introduce you, put you in front of, and then they would call me and say, I'm really sorry. They just feel like this isn't. And then you would see things like, and this is where being an entrepreneur, you got to be a real thick skin. A year later, I would see something similar. And then you're like, oh man, this is okay. What is going on? And when I say that not because I didn't know what is going on. I think I had to reconnect and come back to terms with how do you handle discrimination without it interrupting with your own vibe, without it taking you down, if that makes sense. And so, right, so here's where the road that I paved in earlier training, in corporate training, by training other people in diversity and equality, by training other people in anger management and conflict resolution, by training and designing all these programs, all of a sudden, I found myself dealing with conflict resolution, having crucial conversations, learning how to redirect things, and really helping identify. I love when you first sent out some questions, suggestions. It said, "What problem are you solving?" It seems that the real problem I started to solve was how technology is really supporting systemic racist behaviors. I had no idea I would wind up there.
But it goes further, because you even said something in even delivering the book. You had to hold back on some things in that book in order to get that book to market. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. I had to. So if for any of your listeners, you go and receive my book, or you look at my book, you won't see my picture on it. So one of the things I learned really quickly, if anybody saw that I was of African descent, so I should mention I was raised in Hawaii. So I have Polynesian culture, not heritage. And if you're from the state of Hawaii, that's very normal. So that is my culture. I am African descent. My grandmother is Iroquois, or was Iroquois, bless her, Iroquois Indian, First Nations, from the Seneca tribe. So I have, and then I also have Welsh. It's a very common story for an African descent. So I have this roundedness. I've lived in Wales 16 years. I'm now in Canada. So I did not think until I put my picture on that people would think a book written by someone Black was only for Black people. I thought this was, wow. All of a sudden I became a Black author. And I thought, isn't that funny? Everyone goes, Bill Gates created Microsoft only for white people. It was created by a white person. So therefore only white people are allowed to use it. No. But what you learn really as a person of color, apparently when you create something only, and this seems to be very much honed into First Nations and Blacks, it's only for them. And that is a crime. Galia, you would have to tell me if this is true as well, but that has been my experience. What is I don't know if you also experience that people limit it and go, oh, that's just for your group, however they identify your group,
So it means what happened, because when you want to sell your book, you need to do the personal branding, right? So what do you do to overcome with this problem?
Well, I just took the picture off. I just, that's the only solution. I was too big of an education curve, right? It was too much to go up against that. And you see that in university too. I mean, I've had professors, when I was writing on things, one asked me, why are you doing that? And I thought, I had to ask them. I said, I don't know. I said, well, I really like the Japanese culture because the Japanese this, and I was learning. So I did a history of geisha because I get really upset. It's a little sideway, but I get upset that people take a beautiful art form in history and turn it into something corrupt. So I did this paper. And he's like, I don't get why you're doing it. And I could not understand what he was saying until a penny dropped. And I went, oh, you mean, oh, me. I said, well, I was raised in Hawaii. And he still didn't get that because he had never been to Hawaii. And I said, okay. I said, Japanese culture is a massive part of the Hawaiian experience. I grew up understanding so much about my dear, still didn't understand that. And he literally said to me, I feel it's not appropriate for you as a Black individual to write about another culture. And I said, but I watch other cultures write about me, Black, all the time. I can name so many TV shows that are not written by Blacks. I can tell you so many books that reflect. So what you're saying is I don't have the right or bandwidth or the same equity to write on other cultures. And you talk to someone like Shonda Rhimes, that's what all of a sudden they did a big hoopla because it was the first time the industry let someone Black descent write about white people. So this is how do I overcome it? I took my picture off.
Yeah. So what did you do for your own personal branding? Because you have to, as an entrepreneur, as a writer, you know, you need to create a brand for yourself. So how did you do that?
I focus on content. I focus on content. I focus on content. And I just drive and keep networking with people. And when people need the information, and you'll find even my articles, except for my profile on LinkedIn, there's very few pictures. I just drive on content.
So you choose the content marketing for your personal branding.
Absolutely. My personal branding is, and I'm just starting to this year because we are overcoming these hurdles and there's an open conversation about systemic racism. I am starting to put my image back on, but I focus on content so much. My personal branding is really based on my approach and styles and the way that I care. But I just started putting more of my image, but even then I'm so trained out of it. It's all about content for me.
Oh, was fantastic.
So, Muse, this has been a very exciting conversation, and I'd love to continue to another episode. I really want to get the root of your business, but in ending this one, and maybe we can start another podcast with you in the near future. I want to sort of give you the last word and the last point here. Is there anything that we haven't asked or we haven't mentioned here that our audience needs to know? Like that we need to share with them. Like this is the holy grail. We need to get that information out. Let's get that out there.
Yes. Well, one of the statements a student of mine pointed out, I said the comment, use your passions to overcome obstacle. So that is what I would say. Definitely, no matter the obstacles, it's worth it. If it's your passion, it's worth it. You can get past it. There is nobody that has a stronger sense than yourself. Galeria's question to me was so important because what she said, how did you do your personal branding? I would rely on my passion so much. So I would say rely on your passion to overcome obstacles. That is so vital. And then know that every single thing you do in your life can serve you. There's nothing you've collected in your backpack that won't serve you. Even the things that you need to disregard will serve you, because some days you have to wake up to our own biases and our own narrow thoughts. So I would say remember to pack well, get rid of the things you don't need, and also let that passion be your sneakers, your shoes. Let your passions keep you going, if I was to use the metaphor of the road journey.
And as you articulated there too, in our journey, in our discussion here today too, is that opportunity will show itself anywhere, as long as you're open to listening. And as you're saying, listening to this piece.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So Muse, I have just one more question. What is your future project?
Well, so as a consulting firm, we do help other entrepreneurs. So I'm currently working on 3 other books for other people to help them get their message out there. Our real focus is about helping people's wellness and mental health. So I see cybersecurity now as a wellness tool. I wrote an article called The Zen in Cybersecurity, where I use Dharma teaching. I was raised Buddhist, so I use Dharma teachings and tie them into cybersecurity education. So my projects now is to really help people see cybersecurity as a wellness tool, cybersecurity as a business success tool, and to give them the hardcore information, the how-to, the how-tos, the what to do. And those are projects that I'm working. So the newer book comes out in 2021. There's workshops, and I'm partnering with other people this year. I'm going to enhance my personal brand.
Yay!
Yes.
Good.
So on that note, Muse, how can our audience reach you? Give us some of the coordinates to how do we get to you?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn, Muse Greenwood on LinkedIn. And then also you can get me at www.musegreenwood.com. And the same, my email is so easy, is muse@musegreenwood.com. And Muse is Muse. Yes, it's my birth name. I'm a generation 11. And yeah, we have a long history with this beautiful, beautiful name. Because I'm not trying to say I'm a goddess. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not. I'm just saying that's not what I'm saying. It's just because my grandson actually has it. He's Dylan Muse. Muse Greenwood is how you can look me up. But if there was a goddess dictionary, I might be in that too. But so would Galeria and Rafa. You can look up in goddess encyclopedia. We'd be there.
Love it.
Thank you.
Sure. That's a pleasure. Thank you.
For all our business owners out there, we have a fleet of enthusiastic, knowledgeable students here at UCW, University Canada West, and they are at the ready to help you with your business in any way they can through either our capstone project or internship program or our virtual internship program due to COVID. But and if you think you have a wonderful story like Muse and you want to get it out there, you want to share it with our audience, our students, give them some knowledge to help them grow in their careers and aspirations, please reach out to us at www.ucanwest.ca/innovation fuel.
As you know, we have many ships opportunity. Please join our UCW's club to know more about their partnership, internships, mentorships, all of those.
Thank you, Muse. That ends this week's episode of Innovation Fuel. We look forward for you to join us, connect with us, subscribe with us on our podcast at Spotify, iTunes, any of the places you can reach us. We want to see you on our next episode. See you next week.